Today we'll be replacing the idle control valve, or I should say cleaning the idle control valve on a 325 IS BMW. And of course that is a 1992 325. Let's see if you guys can see the sticker. So mine happens to be in this dark hole under here, which is your intake manifold. So you're gonna at least need a 6mm socket so that you can get to all the hose clamps. Also a common or a flat screwdriver should help on this, which I have also just discovered I have an antifreeze leak. So I guess I'll have to tighten up my hose clamp as well. Looks like it's spraying antifreeze over here. That is a new problem. But the reason for me doing this is I purchased this car here recently, and during my purchase, the guy originally thought it was just needed a set of spark plugs. Well, let's see if this will do it. I don't know if you can hear the surging or not. But ultimately, after the vehicle warms up, since I drove it this morning, I pretty much got the vehicle warmed up, and it calms down, but it still surges just a little bit, and it really gets exaggerated whenever you put it into gear. But like I said, after the vehicle gets warmed up, it becomes more manageable. It idles fine and it revs up fine. It doesn't seem too underpowered, or it doesn't seem like it's having a hard time running. I've already gone through and I replaced all 6 spark plugs, which are located under here. So you remove this cover piece that's here by these 2 10mm bolts, and then you remove the 2 caps that are here, and you have to remove the oil cap to be able to get this piece off. And then you've got 6 coils with 6 spark plugs underneath. So I came and I disconnected all the coils. I verified, made sure they were clean, no corrosion. I replaced all 6 spark plugs. I put the NGKs in there, which it already had in it, and the vehicle, it helped a little bit. But one other thing, that in the repair manual, I actually got a Haynes or a Chilton's manual. It mentions that the throttle cables may be part to blame for rough idle. So if you can see, as I get all this torn apart, I know my finger is big, but right here is the end of the throttle cables. These throttle cables on this linkage down here were very, very loose. It had a lot of slack in it, and to improve most of the idle, especially after it warmed up, I will show you later on in the video, there are 2 screws at the ends of these cables that are plastic that you can rotate and back them out, and it will cause more tension on the throttle cables. So it got rid of a lot of the slack, and once the vehicle warmed up, now it idles smooth once it warms up. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to remove the 10mm bolts that are here and here. Then also there is a 10mm bolt that holds on this assembly right here. So once we get out our air cleaner box, we disconnect the 2 clips that are right here, and then we can undo the hose clamp that's right here using the 6mm. You can remove all this, your mass airflow sensor and your air box, and get all this out of the way so that you can be able to work visibly in here. Okay, as you can see, I only had 1 clip that actually went on and latched Well, the sunlight's great. It latched from this broken clip around to the front side, and that's what normally holds everything together. And then I removed the other 3 bolts, which came off of this bracket down here and over here. So I'm going to attempt to do this single-handed. So I just pick up this, get off to the side. I can go ahead and pop the air cleaner up and out of the way. You'll also have to disconnect this piece, unplug it, just set it back out of the way. I went ahead and undid the hose clamp here and here to ensure that you could actually see what I was doing. So there's a couple of hoses that are hooked on to the very bottom of this piece. You'll have to remove the 2 hoses that are down here. So I'll go ahead and slide this up like that. Yes, like so. This is your mass airflow sensor. You want to make sure that you do not touch the screen. You don't want to get any dirt or residue or your skin oil on this. So try to take and set it off to some place that's going to be kind of out of the way. For me, I'm going to end up setting it in the floorboard of the car because I don't want to accidentally drop it or anything like that. So let's set this completely out of the way so that it's safeguarded. And then your next thing, your next challenge will be to come over here, and you'll notice that this tube down here goes into the air cleaner box. Like I said, I'm doing this one-handed. Gently pull it out, and this is another sensor. So I don't know if you can see that, but this sensor needs to gently be taken out and moved off to the side before you pull out your air box. And then you've also got another bracket that goes to an airflow tube. This you can just wiggle, there you go, and it'll pop off. And my good old car alarm that's not hooked up. And then you just gently should be able to lift this air box up and out of the way. So like I said, you can do this single-handedly. I'm going to just set this air box off to the side, and it's always a good idea while you're in there to, you can take and pull these 2 clips up here and this clip over here, and then this will slide up as a tray and you can check your air cleaner. So for me, I know that I just put a brand new K&N air cleaner in there, so I know that it's going to be good. Now, it looks to me like my antifreeze leak is from over here somewhere, but I'll investigate that later. For now, I am still trying to get up under the engine into that compartment to get to my idle control valve. So, but while you're in here, look for various broken hoses. These could be vacuum leaks. These could be things that will also make your engine idle rough or not idle smoothly, I should say. So let me get these other 2 hoses that are down here hooked on to this tube right here. Now you can see them better. So let me unhook those 2 hoses right there and get things moved out of the way a little bit better. And then I will work on taking off this air duct that goes down and cools the alternator. So I'm just going to remove this hose clamp right here and take this ducting off, and then that will allow me a little bit of access back into here. So, okay, as you can see, I have been able to remove the duct that goes up to here and attaches here. It just has a couple of pressure clips to hold it in. What else? Oh, so the tube that originally came up and goes into the bottom of the elbow Yeah, there we go. It hooks right here onto this elbow tube. For mine, this is why I like working on my own cars, because even when I purchase a new vehicle, get under the hood. Find out what people have done to the vehicle when you buy it. If it's got problems, even if it doesn't have problems. So both of these, the hose clamps, were all the way down where this hooks into the bottom of the ICV, or the idle control valve. So on the idle control valve, as you can see, there's an arrow. So make sure that when you take this out, you observe that that arrow goes right back into the correct flow path. So for mine, the hose that didn't have any hose clamps on it goes onto this side, and then this piece hooks up into the elbow. So with vacuum leaks and cars, this whole system needs to be sealed so that you don't have any vacuum leaks. So as well, I don't know if you can see in there or not. Yeah, a little bit. So it's kind of got some carbon, a little bit of carbon buildup in there. The car has 148,000 miles. So I'm just going to clean this up a bit, and we're going to make sure that this part isn't part of the idle problem that I have. So, I mean, it doesn't cost anything but a can of, like brake clean, whatever, to try to free up some parts and see if I can get some dirt and debris out of there. Maybe I won't have to buy the part. But another thing I noticed is during this, my radiator mounts on my fan brackets. So where the radiator mount, I should say the bracket here, the shroud that the fan operates in, the fan shroud wasn't even into the bracket holders. This whole thing was loose. So not only did I have a loose hose clamp on the radiator hose that was leaking antifreeze all the way down the radiator, but undo these two clips. This one, you just pop out the center with a common screwdriver. Come over here to the other side, get this one off the top, and then all I did was just pick this up and set it into the bracket holder like it belongs. And then now my tank doesn't move. It increases the efficiency and cooling of the engine. It allows it to pull the airflow like it's supposed to. So as your fan is operating, it's able to pull the correct air and have a better, I should say, seal, but it doesn't really contact anything. But it just makes it efficient and takes care of it. And anyways, so here I'm also looking at the intake. I want to see if there's any oil flowing out of there. I want to see how dirty it is. Looks like it's not too bad. For mine, getting to the ICV, man, it is a little bit more of a job. So behind this main hose right here is where my ICV sits, or my idle control valve. I don't know if I can get this thing down enough, but behind there, right above my finger, right here is the bracket that holds it, and then the little cannon plug that plugs into it. So, but you need to work very gently and gingerly. Try not to break any plastic hoses or jam your hands in there to where you would cause yourself more work. But anyways, that's when I pulled out that hose that was right there, and then pulled out the idle control valve. Now, the other thing I'm doing, as I'm in here looking around, I just did an oil change on this car, and I absolutely love this. This made it so easy to change the oil. I just dropped the plug on the bottom, and then I was able to take this long bolt, which goes the whole length of the canister. You replace the gasket. I should say there's an O-ring in here, there's a brass gasket, and then there's an O-ring on the end of this bolt that goes and seals down here somewhere. And then it's just the filter itself slides in here. So it made changing oil in this thing a dream. It's so nice not having to unscrew an oil filter and then get the stuff running down your arm. Let's see, what else was I going to show you? Oh, the throttle cables. So my throttle cables, were extremely loose on this car, which affected the idling as well. When it was warm, it used to surge and it used to idle up, idle down, idle up, idle down. And it would do this like non-stop. So, is what I read in the manual, is these throttle control cables, if they're too loose, your computer can't just adjust the throttle like it's supposed to, because it's got a bunch of slack in here. So, these two screws, I should say, I don't know how to do this one-handed, right here, you can back out the screw. It's a plastic screw, so you have to be very, very delicate. With time, temperature, all the heat from the engine, it makes plastic brittle. So all I did was just gently unscrew these out a little bit. I'm pretty much at the end of the threads now, and it got rid of a lot of the slack on these cables, which improved the idling when it was warm. The other thing you've got to remember is cables over time stretch. So as cables stretch, they will become more slack and more loose. So that's one of the adjustments that I did as well when I first bought the car. So I'm gonna do a quick cleanup and I will start putting things back together. So, all right, we got this all cleaned up. Now you can actually see that there's a cup in there. Let's see, I can't get it, there it goes. So it's got another little piece that rotates in there, and if it's not moving freely, like I shook this thing before and it wouldn't allow the piece inside to slide. So that may or may not be part of my problem, but for now, once again, that's that directional arrow that I was telling you about. Make sure that this flows towards your intake manifold. So as there's a hose that goes from the inside, it goes up and connects to the bottom side of this. So, and then anyways, set that there for now. One other thing, you need to make sure it gets you an inspection mirror. I think these lights are $2, maybe $3 at a parts store. These don't cost very much, and they help you see around corners. They help you stand on your head sometimes to where you can get into small areas and get inspections done as well. So anyways, I'm gonna look around here and then I'm going to kind of do a quick put back together. So pretty much you're just going to do the reverse of what we did last time, where I'll put in the idle control valve, I'll hook it into the two hoses, make sure that my hose clamps are actually tightened this time onto the idle control valve. I'll probably hook this hose onto it first, and that way whenever my hose clamps are already done, I don't have to try to reach a screwdriver back in there to get everything tightened down. Then I'll just kind of lightly snug this one like I did here. That way it doesn't slide back down the hose, and it's easy to just hook back onto this elbow right here. Then I can attach the hose clamps. From then, get all the elbow put back on, the mass airflow sensor. Let's see, then I should be able to put this ducting back on for the alternator cooling, and then plug in my Canon plugs, stuff like that. Then I can drop in my air box and it should be ready to go. Then I can just rebolt everything in, make sure to get this sensor put back in there, all that good stuff. And then I won't really know until tomorrow, or if I let this thing get cold, I'll probably start it this evening and I'll see if this helped it or not. If it did, I'll know as soon as I start it, because like I said, it would surge up and down, and it almost dies. And if you put it in gear, then it just kind of does a da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. It just gets really annoying. So, but we'll see. Okay, well, I got everything put together. Car shakes a little bit, but it's not surging. The tachometer used to rev up, rev down, rev up, rev down, almost die, come back up. It has a little bit, well, has a little bit of a rough idle, but it looks like it's doing a lot better than it was. So maybe cleaning the idle control valve helped a little. Maybe it didn't. As you can see, it's very cold. It's 148,887 miles on this car, so. 148,887 miles. So, and then, let's see, 148,887 miles. So, 148,887 miles. So, and then, let's see, 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 148,887 miles. So, and then, As you gas it, idle it up, it runs fine. Yeah, it looks like that surge is still not gone. So maybe it's a TPS, maybe it's something else, but if you don't have money for going to get codes run, I think it's normally like 85 or 100 or 100 and something dollars an hour is what they'll normally charge you for a diagnostic fees. You might get lucky and get like a $75 fee, and then they'll roll that into the vehicle repairs if you get your vehicle fixed at that shop. Since this is like a 92 BMW, I don't really have any idea. I asked at the Firestone yesterday when I got the fuel filter changed, and for me, my hands are too big, my arms are too long, they're big to fit in between the transmission and the body. But I went ahead and I paid the $130 at Firestone to have my fuel filter changed. So now I've gone through the coils, put new plugs in it, it's got a fuel filter on it. I have now cleaned the idle control valve, so we'll see what this thing does next. But as you can see, it calms down once it starts warming up. I also fixed the antifreeze leak by tightening up the hose clamps, put the shroud for the fan back on, all kinds of things. So another word to the wise, just go through your vehicle, look at what people have done to it, look at, what you may or may not know about vehicles. Just don't be afraid of it. Dive into it, see what you can learn. You might find oil leaks, you might find electrical problems, who knows. But hope this helps somebody in the future for replacing or cleaning a idle control valve on a 92 BMW 325 IS. And don't forget to subscribe to Speed Life 913 and leave comments below. Thanks.